Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to bake a rye bread, a Scandinavian style rye bread. We eat that in Denmark, where I'm from, and also Sweden and Norway and northern Germany. Let's take a look at this bread. I just made two rye bread right here. One is with whole common on the top, and the other one is, what are they called? It's called blue poppy seeds on top. Otherwise, they're exactly the same. And we're going to make them in this video. Why should you care about this? Because if you eat more of this stuff or start to eat rye bread, then you get a lot more fiber in your diet, and that's good for your health in general. Also, you should eat it because it tastes delicious. Okay, now let's get started with making some rye bread. It takes a couple of phases to do a rye bread, and none of these phases require any particular time. It's like 5 minutes each, and that's it. Then you have your rye bread made. But it's a process that happens over 2 days. And here it is the first day at night, and I'm going to start by mixing my sourdough with water and some initial ingredients, and then that has to sit overnight and ferment, and then I can start on the second phase. But let's get to that later in my video. So let's take this mixer bowl. That's where I make all the dough in, and we also want to take a weight like this one. I just put it down here in my sink, turn it on, because we need to have some water, and let's put it to 0, and we need 1 liter of water. I will put a recipe, of course, at my website, where you can find the full recipe for this rye bread. I can just remember it in my head. Oops, that was a little bit too much water. It's the first video I make ever on this channel, so I'll make a lot of errors. But I think that'll be some of the charm with this channel. I'll allow myself to make some errors in order to get some videos done. That was 1 liter, 1,000 grams. It's close enough, 1,011 grams. So the first thing we need to do is to mix that with some sourdough. And don't worry, sourdough for rye bread is so easy. You don't have to take care of it at all like you do if you do white bread, and why I don't make white bread. But that's a side step. Let's get my sourdough. I have it here in my fridge, and it doesn't look good, but it smells good. I don't know, let me put some light on it so you can really see it. It smells heavenly good. It smells of freshly served beer with foam on it that bubbles up and releases this beer smell. That's exactly how it smells. And why does it do that? Because you make beer from, among other things, rye flour. But you can also make good bread of it. And we eat this kind of bread a lot in Scandinavia and in northern Germany. I'd say it's probably a thing the Vikings invented, my forefathers. Anyway, we put this. And what is this sourdough? You can see doesn't look at all like from white bread sourdough. If you know how that looks, it's a thin thing. This looks like something. It's super massive, because that's how this bread is. Also very massive. Anyway, it comes down here. And if you don't have for your first rye bread, I hope that you will get inspiration from my channel to start doing some of my dishes. That's the intention, that we can learn it from each other here in life. So here we go. It's down in the water, then we have to mix it. I want to tell you one more thing. I do believe in my kitchen here I do have this. I have if you don't have a starter dough, you could get a starter dough from somebody else who make rye bread. That's one way to do it. But you can also, I have done it, so I know it works. You can also buy some dry yeast in the supermarket. They got it for like no money at all, like 10 cents. I keep it in a little box here. I keep it in this thing here, and then I move it to this box, because then it's easier to dose, and I don't like the look of a plastic bag like this. I like glass and steel much better. But you can also buy fresh yeast like I have right here, and just start out your recipe with that instead of sourdough. It will turn into sourdough after your first bread is made. Don't worry. Just give it a little bit of this, and it will ferment overnight, and you will have your sourdough by the end of the time you have made this bread. But okay, yeah, that was. Let me put this on. I use the same glass for this sour close again and again and again, but of course I'll clean it at every time I do it. So I just put it in water, then it's easier to clean it when it's been in water for a couple of hours. I'll put this yeast back in my fridge so it doesn't die. It's a living thing, has to be refrigerated or it will die. So let's get on with this. We have this. I take my whisk up here. Let's get it mixed. And what you see here, first I crush it a little bit out. And when it's almost done, then I whisk it both ways. And then it will foam just like a beer and will create this foam that just smells lovely and like beer. Just need to get it completely dissolved. There's a lot of yeast and stuff in this. And don't worry that it will never get bad. I have never had this go bad in my fridge or anything. Never. It's full of good bacteria and yeast that will overwhelm any dangerous yeast or bacteria. So you don't get sick of this. On the contrary, it will be a benefit for your health. Anyway, it's mixed, and let's get the other ingredients. And for that I use a scale again. Let me just take the first ingredient in, and I'll take 2 boxes down here. It's rye bread, it's rye flour. The first one here is rye flour, roughly grained rye flour, and we need 200 grams of that for this recipe here. There's enough for 2 large rye breads. 200 grams. And don't be afraid if it's not exact. It won't spoil or ruin your rye bread in any way. This is a very foolproof way of cooking. And then we need 500 grams of cut rye kernels. This stuff here, let me take this off again so you can see it. This stuff here is made of the exact same thing. It has just been milled a lot more so it gets to this level. And here's the same thing. You want the texture in your rye bread, so you need to use both of this. This you mix with this, and actually we need 500 grams of, so 200 grams of the milled rye kernels, and then of these cut rye kernels you need 500 grams. So 500 plus 200, that will be 700. So we keep going. Can you see it? 700 on the spot. Where was my other lid? That was here on top of this. And then let's clean it up right away. So we're almost done. I want some other kernels in my rye bread. So I put in, I have this one here. What is it? It's flaxseed. It's healthy. And I put 100 grams of that in. So 700 grams to 800. That'll be 100 grams more of this. And then I also want some pumpkin seeds. This is my pumpkin seeds, and I want 100 grams of that. And I can actually see that there's not 100 grams here. But I have boxes of extra up here. So let me find it. Some extra stores. I always have extra stores, but then I put it over in glass and steel because I like that better, or porcelain. I don't like plastic, but that's how you get it in the supermarket, of course. Let's pour this in. We need 100 gram. And then you fill this up with what I buy here. It's organic pumpkin seeds, and they give a nice. I like it in my rye bread. You can make rye bread without it if you don't like these seeds. You can also use some other seeds. It's very rye bread is not one thing, it's many things, and that's why I'm going to make many videos of rye bread. But it's not a channel about rye bread, it's a channel about cooking. I'd say above average home cooking. So if you want to up your skill level here, I don't know how good you are at cooking, but I'd say I'm quite above average, but I'm not a Michelin star chef for sure. Anyway, 100 gram more of this, so we get to 1 kilo or 1000 grams. Here we go. Now we got all the ingredients for this dough. Now we just need to mix it. We can take it off the scale and get rid of the scale, because we actually done with the first phase of making this rye bread. But let me just finish it off. And how many minutes did we use? I don't think we used a lot. And I haven't cut anything out. Other videos that are showing you how to cook, they have cut out like so much of the video. They show you like 5 minutes, when in reality they spend an hour. This is reality. This is what I spent doing this, and that's why I know you can do it as well, and why this is not hard. You can literally see this is not hard. So you mix it, so all this stuff, and it doesn't look good, but believe me, the end result will be fantastic. So now it's all mixed, and now it just needs to ferment. Let me put that over here for later use. Now it needs to ferment. I like to clean it. I have bought some plastic, a soft plastic scraper, and that's perfect for cleaning the edge here. I don't know, it's probably not necessary, but I think it just looks better. It's always good to keep a clean kitchen. And then I put a lid on it. Now others might have used plastic film, but I actually care for this world we're living in. And I just use something that we can use over and over again without using materials unnecessarily, just to cover it up so dust and animals doesn't get to it. You just leave it aside now. Just set it aside, and don't set it. I could set it here over by the window, but then the sun goes up and kills this living thing that is here. So don't put it in the window where the sun will hit it. You need to put it in a dark place, like over here. I know the sun will not hit this spot here, so I can put it here. And what we're actually done. But so far this was the first phase, and the next phase starts tomorrow. Tomorrow early evening, I'll start doing the rest of the process for making this rye bread. So let's clap out. Okay, this is next day, and my dough over here, rye bread dough, has fermented, and you can see, I don't know if you can see it here, but it is bubbling. Let me steer it around a little. It's bubbling up, and it's full of, it has, you could say, all the things in it. That was a bubble over there popping. All the things in it, of course, has multiplied, and it's ripe with yeast and whatever microbes that lives in this sourdough. But it's not ready, the dough. It has to be finished, so it's the second phase that we have to go through in order to make this rye bread. And let's get started. First, I want to add some spice in the form of salt. And this is just finely grained salt. I don't pour that directly into this one because I don't want to, that could accidentally go wrong. So I have this little scale here. It can measure 1/10 of a gram. And I need 20 grams of salt. So I measure my salt here. 20 grams for these two rye breads I'm going to make. Pour it up slowly. That's close enough, 19.6 grams. So that one goes down. The scale go back. Mini scale goes back. Now I need some, this is called, it's what is this? It's malt syrup. I believe it's made from the same thing as these rye kernels in a process. I'm not quite familiar with it, but it's an ingredients. You can put it in or you cannot put it in. You can also use just a dark syrup, but this one has the best taste to it. You can buy a dark syrup like this in the supermarket, but it's a cheap syrup. This one is full of flavor. I prefer that, and you can get it in a well assorted supermarket. This one you can get in any supermarket. Anyway, we need 20 grams of it, and I put down my other scale here in order to measure that. Whether it's 20 grams, 40 grams, or 15 grams, doesn't matter. This scale is actually quite accurate. Here we go. 20 grams, so you can see it's quite accurate. 22. That's it. And then let me put that back on where it belongs. And then there's a third thing I put in it. Again, these things, you'll still make rye bread if you don't put these ingredients in, but you know, this is my standard way to do my rye bread and how I like the final product the best. So I'll show you this time, and then I'll show you other videos where I do it like super simple or have other syrups that I use and other flavors. There's also a Christmas rye bread, of course there is. Many ways to make rye bread. But anyway, this is dark malted rye flour, and it looks dark, it is dark, and it will also color the whole bread here pretty dark. What I'd have to do with this is I have to filter it, and it also needs 20 grams. It's quite easy to remember. I take up a spoon, then I zero this weight scale. Oops, that's not it. Jesus. Grams, then this tar function, so it goes to 0. And then I put about 20 grams down there. 18, that's close enough. You don't wanna spend all night on it, all day on it. Okay, and then I'd simply pour it through. Otherwise, if we don't do this with this, see, it can be clumpy, this thing, and we don't want that. Then it's not so easy to mix it into the bread. So, and you know, that's good enough. Then we actually see there are some small impurities in it, so maybe it's a good idea, another good idea for putting it through a filter. We'll clean that later. So that was 3, you could say, spices that this bread would take. Then I pour up about, I'll take it on 0 again. I know for experience that 1 glass of this water will be what the extra water this dough needs. It's about, I think it's 170 grams. Let's see it here. Yeah, I stop here. 260, it should be about 270 grams. Again, it doesn't, you don't ruin your dough here. It's very forgiving if you are a little off with the measurement. You can even do it on, you should have a scale to do it. Then the final ingredients before we are finished making this dough is this whole rye flour. You have to use that again. Remember when we started out this making this dough last day, that will be a few minutes ago into this video, we used 200 grams of this, and now we need another 670 grams of it. So that's what I'll pour in, and then the dough is ready, finished, and we just need to mix it. So 670 Here we go, almost there. That's great. And then it's done. Now we just need to mix it. And I'll just always clean up your kitchen or it will be a mess. And if you have a messy kitchen, you will make errors when you cook. Clean up while you cook. I have to close my window because I have some construction in my yard and they are starting a machine right now that is in. It's a thing that can cut stone and it makes a lot of noise. But this microphone shouldn't pick it up, but I can still hear it. Okay, we put it into this mixer. And then you would think I'd need a dough hook like this one, but I don't, because this is rye bread. This is not white bread. White bread would be mixed with this, a dough hook. But you need this other one here, this thing. And this is a standard equipment on stand mixers. I use a really good stand mixer, and I can only recommend getting one if you start being serious about making rye bread, because you'll be making rye bread every week or so, and having this stand mixer is just wonderful. Now my channel just started. I'm not going to put any link where you can buy this, and then I get a little cut of it, but there's no point in that at this time. But I recommend this product here. You can buy it once and you'll have it for the rest of your life, and it just works. And it's also big. It's the biggest model they have. I think there's 7 liters in this ball down here, and it's just barely enough for making 2 rye bread. So yeah, it needs to be this big. You can't buy the smaller ones. And also, don't buy kitchen machinery if you don't have room to have it out on the table always. If you pack it away, then you'll never use it. Then you shouldn't buy it. Anyway, it should be mixed. And what we do is we want to. There's a handle here that can go up. Don't do that. Let it, when you start out, have it be down here, and then at the lowest speed you start. If you have this up and you start at full speed, then your whole kitchen will be covered in rye flour in a second. You don't do that. So have it down here, lowest speed. Now it's rolling. As you can see, it's nicely mixing. I think I'll film this just so you can see how it gradually gets mixed, of course, and once it reaches a point where you can no longer see the rye flour because it's kind of mixed into the dough, then you can take this up and let it move on and further mix. But let's see how long this takes. And be patient here. Of course, I'd normally just do some other things, which I think I will. Just let it leave it there. It's not interesting. I know what happens next. And that is that I need to have 2 forms made, and I have to grease them. And I use olive oil because it's right here on my table, and I like the taste of olive oil, but you can grease it with whatever oil you like, actually. Again, making rye bread is not difficult. It's easy peasy, and many more people should really do it. It's something we have been doing for, I don't know, 1,000 years, since the Vikings in Scandinavia and northern Germany. And we're doing it, and we keep doing it. Certainly I will for the rest of my life. And it's good stuff. It can replace potato, rice, white bread in many dishes. Not all dishes, but in many dishes it can. And I think it tastes better, and it's definitely better for your health. Because it makes it makes a living space for all the microbes that are living in your gut. We have literally billions, if not trillions, of microbes in our guts. So we are not one organism. We are a cooperation of many organisms that needs to work together in order for our health to be good. I'm not. This is not hocus pocus science. This is real science, and even at hospitals, they have pills with poo, because that poo is full of microbes that people eat if they have stomach problems. Then they eat other people's poo in order to get those microbes into their gut system. So it's very well known, and it's used at hospitals all over the modern world to cure people and help people recover from some illness. What I was meant to saying is that by eating rye bread, you kind of guarantee that you have a healthy gut flora, because these microbes, they love the fibers in this rye bread. That's how they thrive. So if you want to avoid stomach problems, start making your own rye bread. But we just grease these forms so they're easier to get out. That's pretty standard. If you have any experience with making bread and you use forms to do it, then, well, always grease your form. Now that's done. Now we can go back here and we can see all the rye flour has been mixed into the dough, but the dough is not mixed. We have to pull this up. And now it looks like it will fall out, but miraculously it doesn't. I always think it will fall out, but it doesn't. And it's it's almost fell out there, but I've never actually experienced it fall out. And now it's almost done being mixed. Yeah, let me stop it here. It's mixed. You don't need to buy this machine. If you can do this by hand, of course. You don't need this machine. But I'm going to tell you that this dough is very heavy, and it will make your hands. I've done it when my mom was making this rye bread, and she couldn't. She always forced me to. She didn't have a hand mixer at that time. Stupid, but. And then I should mix that dough, and I always had, my hands were just hurting because of that. I don't like it, and you won't like it either. Nobody will like it. Buy a machine for that job. We have machines to do all the things we don't want to do ourselves. So that's my philosophy about having KitchenAid machines. Okay, anyway, it's done. Now we need to take it off out of the machine here. Now you can probably hear from the yard that there's a heavy-duty machine there cutting stones. But again, my microphone shouldn't pick it up so much. We have to liberate this thing here from this dough, and as you can see, it's like the most sticky thing in the world. It's the very definition of sticky. And a spoon is the easiest way to get this liberated. And also, if I don't liberate it, it will be wasted because... And I don't want to waste anything. It's not what we should do. We should try to get the most out of everything we use, and not just spend because we can. Oh, we're gonna save because we can. Much better philosophy. But I'm not an environmental extremist. In fact, I think environmental legislation as it is today prevents a lot of good stuff from being done because there's too much bureaucracy associated with it. I think we should greatly simplify these environmental laws so we could get more done, like building solar farms and wind farms, and also factories that makes the stuff we need for making battery electric vehicles. We need new materials, we need to open new mines, new factories, and there shouldn't be currently fossil fuel industry and others who doesn't want any change are lobbying to make environmental legislation as tough as possible so you can't get anything done. That's how nations go down. That's how you ruin your society. We should just simplify it, get the job done, make the transition to renewable energy. But that's a side step. This is a food channel, but I get swept away with other stuff that interests me. But I'll discuss that other stuff in more detail on my other channel that's just called HM Experience. Now I have this glass that will be for my sourdough. And where do I get my sourdough from? Well, it will be this finished dough that has been mixed. It cannot be more easy than that. You just take part of that, and that will be your sourdough for the next rye bread. Of course, this is packed with these with yeast and other microbes that is the sourdough. Here in this glass, just fill it up about 250 grams. It's just a glass I got from buying some marmalade or what it is called, jam. I'm Danish natively speaking, so I'm not familiar with all English words. Don't fill it completely up because this will proof and expand a little bit with bubbles in it, and there should be room for that expansion. So make it like this, 3/4 full. Might take a little bit extra, and that will be it. And then it looks a little greasy. So what I do here is I take my finger down and then I clean it up by moving this around. And then of course my finger is greasy, so I have to I wash my finger up right away because everything I touch will then have this dough on it that is super sticky. I don't want that. So I have to wash my fingers immediately. Okay, this is a glass. We leave a little extra room for proofing. And where do I put this? You put it in the coldest place in your refrigerator. And I have one spot right there. Goes down there, you forget about it. And that's it. Then it's ready for next time. And what else can you do with this sourdough? Just let it can easily stand there in the refrigerator for 2 weeks, no problem. If you are going longer than that, I'd recommend you put it in the freezer instead. And then it can sit there for, I don't know, half a year. And then you take it up, tow it up, and then it's good to go again. Now, if you put it in the freezer, a lot of the yeast will be killed. There will only be a little bit left, so it won't be as potent. And I've done it. I've experimented with it. It won't be as potent. So it will take a lot longer to proof the first time you make rye bread with it again. Alternatively, just add some yeast from the supermarket to your sourdough, and it will be just as potent as if it was never freezed. Anyway, so again, it's super easy with this sourdough for rye bread. You don't have to feed it every day or several times a day as you do with sour dough for white bread. So that's a totally different thing. And that's why I gave up on it, because it's too difficult. Okay, now we only need to get the dough here into these forms. And I'm doing that. I'm not going to show you all of it. We are almost done. Again, I like there to be an equal amount in both forms, but again, if it's not completely equal, well, it doesn't really matter. It will still become rye bread. It's just one bread will be a little bigger than the other, but I like it to be equally big. So in the end here, I'll take a weight and see that there's an equal weight to each of these forms. Okay, then I can take this scraper here. It's a soft plastic scraper. You can get it for like 10 cents on a web shop that sells baking equipment. Buy that because it's a good tool to have when you make this bread. And then this one, okay, we're done using this tool. We're done using this tool, and also, this one. And then you just put cold water in it, let it sit for an hour, and then it almost falls off by itself, this stuff here. But okay, I have to shape let me do a rough, just use a spoon here to press the dough down, and it's, as you can see, the dough is enormously thick and stiff. Now this is almost full, so let it sit. Let me take the scale down here and see if they are both weighing the same. They should be about 1870 gram each. 1833, then this one should be heavier, I think. Yeah, it is. Let's see if that solves the problem. Yeah, 1875, 74, 1863. That's close enough for me. Put that scale away. Now we know an equal amount of dough here is in both forms, so the breads will be equally large. You just move around here, press the dough down, so there won't be any air holes beneath it when you bake it. I would have thought that there would sometimes be an air pocket or something, but it has never happened to me. So, and I have baked these breads, I don't know, definitely hundreds and hundreds of times, maybe even thousands of times. I have no count of it. I've done it for many years now. Never stopped doing it since I did it the first time. I have a sister, she gave up on it, and then she had these forms in surplus. She was going to throw them out or something, and then I just said, yeah, let me try. I'll try to do it, and then I did it, and then never regretted it. Getting started with rye bread. Okay, now it's kind of evened out. We're not completely done. I'll show you in a minute what we have to do, but first I'll do this other bread here. Same procedure. I hope you find this useful and also can improve your own lives with stealing some of my ideas that I have gathered over time. That's the purpose of this channel. Help you guys out there to be better home cooks and live more exciting lives in terms of what you eat, and also more healthy lives, because what you eat is a large part of your health. Okay, you saw that technique in the corners. I use the end of the spoon here because it's a little more refined, and then I can get into the corners. Whereas the big thing is this. Just watch what I do, and then you can do the same, and that's how you do this. Now this is done. I don't need this spoon anymore. It goes down here, and I still need to wash my hands. Let me see. I have in my dishwash I have a stiff brush, and I have a soft brush, because some things are better to do with a stiff brush and so other things are better to do with a soft brush. Always have two. That's more effective instead of just one. Many households I've seen only using one kind of brush. That's wrong. Maybe it's me having Asperger's that makes me think a lot about the small details, but I'm right. I know it's logically true, so I think I'm entitled to think like that. Okay, you can put a lot of stuff on. I want to top this bread off so it becomes a beautiful bread, and you do that normally by putting some seeds on it, and I'll show you a couple of alternative things that I have. I also have one that's wrong. Sesame seeds you can use, but this one is filled up with whole common seeds, so I'm cheating a little bit. I'm run out of sesame seeds, and I needed an extra box for this Let me use whole common seeds. Not everybody likes that, but I'll use that for one of my breads, and then I think I'll use blue poppy seeds for the other bread. I could also use this. This is what is it called? I have it here with a name on it. I'm Danish, so I have no idea what this is in English. That's why I've made some labels here in English. Guanoa seeds. That's also a seed you can have. It doesn't taste of anything, so it's not my. I like some seeds that have some taste to it, like this whole common and blue poppy seeds. But sometimes I also just want it to be totally neutral. So variety is always a bliss when cooking, I think. Let me see. All 3 cameras are running. Let me put... Yeah, now I'm being foolish. Okay, so blue poppy seeds here. And then we just give it a shake until it's all covered. And I do the same thing that was whole common for this other bread here. Give it a shake. I think it needs a little bit extra. And then I'm done using these seeds. Okay, probably a little bit too much. Now we take a dry spoon here, same spoon as before, and then we do a final thing here to finish these bread loaves. And that final thing is that we push the seeds into the dough, up and down. Don't make scraping thing, that will ruin the whole thing and the dough will pop up. It has to be up and down, up and down. And that's also your last opportunity to actually shape the surface of this bread. If there are some irregularities, you can use this movement to clean that up. And also because the spoon is round here, I make a little, when I go in the corner, I do like this, and then when I go in the middle, I change the angle of the spoon, do like this, and then when I come over on this side, then I have changed the angle so that it'll be pressed down here. I'm just telling you, this is something I do. I don't really think about it anymore. It's in my neural networks in my brain that just do this. Don't think about it. It's worked into my brain by habit and repeatedly doing it. That's how our brain works. Something I'm interested in. Also in computing, neural networks, same thing. It's worked so good and that I talk a lot about on my other channel. Anyway, the bread here is now done. And we can put it for waiting, for proofing. I put it here in my oven and I don't turn on the oven. It's just a nice, then it's away and doesn't take up space in my small kitchen here. We do the same thing, squeezing these seeds into the dough so they will stick better to the dough so it doesn't crumble everywhere when you have finished the dough. And that doesn't take a lot of time either. The only thing that resides is for this to stand for 2 or 3 hours, maybe 6 if it's in the winter. Now it's at the end of the summer, it's still pretty hot, September. And I only think it will take about 2 hours for this to pop up and be ready to bake. But anyway, we put that the same place here in the oven, and then it should not dry out on the top. So what you do is you take some plate here and put on the top so it's preserve the humidity of inside these boxes. Let's close the door, turn off the lights, and that was the second phase of making a rye bread. That was the longest phase, the one that requires the most work, but it's easy. It's not rocket science. You can do it, and you would love it. But let me come back to the final thing about baking it. That will be easy peasy. Okay, now 2.5 hours has passed and the rye bread has proven here in the oven without any heat on the oven. So let's take it out and just see if it's final. You always have to check that because the time it takes to proof depends on the temperature in your kitchen, and it also depends on how potent your sourdough is. As I mentioned before, earlier in the video, if you put your sourdough in the freezer because you are away for a month and it has to be long-term storage, it won't be very potent. And then it needs a lot more proofing time. But here we can see these breads are actually perfect. They look beautiful. Let me see if I can film it. Maybe I should do this with an iPhone and then cut it in later on. But I won't do it in this first video. I can always make these mistakes and then correct them later on. Make more videos that should be better. But this is how it looks. It has proven about 25%. A white bread would probably double in size, but this one doesn't. 25%, that's right. And you can see it all. I had a flat shape, now it's round form, and it's actually looking quite nice. So it's time to bake it, and you don't even have to bake it from a hot oven. You have to do that with white bread. It has to be a really hot oven from the get-go. Not with rye bread, it's as easy as it gets. What we do is we put this in the oven, and let me tell you one more thing. I have this pizza steel in my oven, and you should not put this on a pizza steel because then it will be burned on the bottom. So you need to have a grill. This one I'm pointing at here, I'm not sure it's called a grill in English, but you know what I mean. These two breads just go into the oven here on a grill, and then I cover them up so I keep the moisture trapped in these forms, so it won't get dry on the top either. And then I just close and turn on the oven. Not very much heat actually. I need to put it on 220 degrees Celsius because I know this gas oven will only be at about 200 degrees Celsius when I do that. So you set your oven and then you bake it for 1 hour and 45 minutes, and that's from a cold oven. The start of the oven has to be cold, so it's super easy. You don't have to preheat it. So set alarm for 1 hour and 45 minutes.
1 hour and... Sorry. Once again, 1 hour and 45 minutes. Counting down.
Okay, it's set. Siri is not the smartest AI. It's incredible that Apple is this enormous company, the most valuable company in the world. Like, are they $2 trillion now on the stock exchange, and they don't even know how to make the Siri assistant work without an issue? I mean, what's up with them? Google can do it, and now we got these amazing new artificial intelligence chatbots from OpenAI, ChatGPT and ChatGPT 4. And I'm personally, one of my favorites is perplexity.ai. Go there, their website, use that chatbot if you want that. That's a side step, but I'll be making side steps where I talk about a little bit of other things than my bread because my brain functions that way. I hope it will be part of the charm of this channel that I suddenly digress into something else. But back to the bread. Now it'll bake 1 hour and 45 minutes. We will take it out of the oven and it's done. But I'll be back again when that's done, and you'll see what else to do with it. Okay, now 1 hour and 45 minutes has passed. In fact, I was a little busy doing something else, so 2 hours has actually passed and the bread is still in the oven. I'm just telling you because your bread is not ruined because it gets 15 minutes more. Don't give it 15 minutes less, like 1.5 hours, but 15 minutes more is okay. Rye bread is extremely forgiving, but as I said, in many dimensions, so it's far easier to make than white bread. You don't need to be a baker to be a good rye bread maker. You need to be a baker to be a good white bread maker. But anyway, let's get this bread out of the oven and let's have a look at it. So here we go. I'll turn the light on, otherwise There's nothing to see. So let's get it up. I have to take care not to burn myself because of course this is hot. And I also have to film, but I'm learning. Shut that one, shut the oven. I think that's done now. I think it looks good. And of course it's really, really hot. So I want that to cool down. And I have a grill here where I want to, I put it over my sink. And then they can cool here. There's also my window here, where there's some cold air. I want them to sit here and cool down. And I don't take, there's something you need to pay attention here because there are some important things I'm going to tell you that you have to do also when you make this bread yourself. So now we have these two breads. I'm not going to attempt taking them out of the form until it has cooled for about 15 or 20 minutes. And the thing is, right now, because they are 100 degrees Celsius, it's hot. And it has to cool down a little bit in order for this bread to easily slip out and not break. If you attempt to take it out of the forms here, when it's right out of the oven, you risk breaking the bread. You don't want that to happen, that kind of ruin set. So let it cool for 15 minutes and then I'll show you how to take it out. It's easy. Okay, 15 minutes has passed and time to get the bread out of the forms. So here we are. And we just turn it around, as you can imagine. Hold this one here. Just get it out. You can see it just rolls right out. Then I want to turn it around and flip it on this side here. Because that one is a little slightly curved. I don't want it to cool on a slightly curved thing. I want to let it cool on a flat surface so it keeps its form. So we can also do this and then keep it up here and then tip it over. So here we go. It's still very hot. And let me use this thing here. This is can measure the temperature. Now it's 58 degrees Celsius, and then I click here, 138 degrees Fahrenheit. Must be the same thing here, yeah, exactly the same with the other bread. Of course, 60 degrees Celsius. Let it cool until it has room temperature, and then I'll show you what to do with it next. We'll be back. Okay, so now a couple of hours has gone by and the rye bread I just made have cooled down. So what do we do with them after they have cooled down? So here they are cooled down and they look beautiful. What I normally do here, I'll put it on a cutting board right here, is that I take this basically a big plastic bag, and I can do it with one of the breads here. Just put it in that bag. And how should you store it so that it can last? Just store it in the fridge. Don't store it outside. Just put it in the fridge and in this plastic bag. Now I put this in the fridge. That's how you store it. But of course I'll also show you how this bread looks on the inside. Because now we just made it. And you cut it here. And remember, I just made it, and you can cut this bread right away. But it's actually much easier to cut once it has been cooled down completely in the fridge. It gets harder, more sturdy, and then it's easier to cut. But otherwise, guarantee you, this is great. And I'll make other videos where I'll show what you can do with this rye bread. You can do a lot with it. You can do a lot with it, but this video is just about how to make the bread itself. Then I'll show you how to serve it to different dishes and how to make snacks of it, how to make croutons for salads and all kind of things. It's a great bread with lots of versatility because you can use it for so many things. And it will improve your health if you start eating a lot of that. I eat it every day, several times a day, and I'm in great health, and I'm over 50, so really nothing wrong with me. And I think a big part of it is because I've been eating this rye bread a lot all my life. So I guess that's it. Now I'll just end the video, and I hope you liked it and that you would subscribe to my channel. Give it a like up if you like it. Bye bye. See you next time. Now here's a little bit of B-roll. Enjoy.